So, hello and thanks for joining me today. Let me introduce you to Barbara. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Jason.
How are you doing?
I'm just great.
Oh, fantastic. Listen, I'm absolutely ecstatic and delighted that you said yes to come and join us for our very first Tantra Love Festival in California, 2 hours north of San Francisco, in September this year. And this video today, Barbara, is just to give people a chance to meet you. And I think you're the author of a book.
I'm the author of Urban Tantra. It's the world's first LGBTQ inclusive tantric sex book. It's kind of famous for that.
And you're famous, and the book's famous. And you just had your second edition, was that right?
Yes, the second edition is out because we accomplished so much with the first edition, not just for queer people, but
Yes.
also for the rest of the planet,
Yes.
that I had to spin it out a few years so that we'd have a new goal to achieve in terms of getting more love and sex on the planet.
And what I love about this book is that it really specifically talks to the LGBT community. Can you say a little
That's
bit
my
about that?
intention. It was not my intention ever to exclude straight people.
Yes.
It was just that LGBT people were completely excluded from Tantra back in the 80s when I first started studying and teaching. Completely excluded. If you even went to a workshop that said they were gay friendly,
Yes.
you'd be told to pair up with someone of the opposite gender.
Yes.
Once you got there. It was pretty awful.
Yes. And for me, what I love about what you've offered is, I think for me, you're one of the founders of, in creating Urban Tantra, both as a book and what you teach. I think one of the founders of LGBT Tantra that's out there in the world.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, I guess so. And that makes me so incredibly happy. So incredibly. Look, I got an award for it.
Oh, did you? Tell me about this.
I got the Flying Penis Award for Lifetime Achievement from the Sexual Freedom Awards people in London. My golden flying cock. Yes.
That looks beautiful.
I'll bring it with if you want.
Okay, we could do a workshop on that.
Worshipping the golden phallus.
But listen, I want to take you back because some people watching this may have heard of people like Chester Maynard, Joseph Kramer, Annie Sprinkle, and I know that you have relationships with all of these and different working things. And I wonder if you could just tell us a bit about those people and what you've done with them. And yeah.
Oh my God. Joseph and Annie and Chester and I, well, especially Annie and Joseph and I, go back to the New York Healing Circle, which was one of the first positive support groups, both spiritual and emotional support groups for people with AIDS in the 80s.
Okay.
And then I met Chester Maynard shortly thereafter, and then we started. We partnered for some 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And we worked a lot, especially in Australia.
Okay.
But we did, it was one of the greatest thrills of my life to be able to work with Chester. Cheeky Chester. As long as I did. And I miss him every day.
And I know, Barbara, like for me, sorry to say this, but for me, you're one of the people that I know that many others that are doing this work today kind of look to as people that have like laid out the early foundations of the work that we're doing.
Thank you. What you and the community you've created with Tantra and Tantra for Gay Men, what you do for me is give me new inspiration and possibilities for where the work can go from here.
Yes.
And how we can bring it to more and more people and more creatively. It's like, I want people with more ideas and
Yes.
more imagination.
Yes.
And you've got it in spades.
So just
you.
Before we come up to the current day, I just want to there's one thing, like I know that when I've heard you talking before, you've talked about the work that you offer because you wanted to help, LGBT gay men during the AIDS crisis have safer ways of connecting. Because I remember what you've said in your work, that, you know, people were scared for their lives.
When I first went into the healing circle,
Yes.
everyone was either positive, sick, or dying, and
Yes.
the mantra was sex equals death.
Yes.
And the single reason I started studying Tantra and Taoist erotic traditions
Yes.
was to find a way for my brothers to be able to be erotic, to get emotional healing and spiritual needs met without passing on a virus. Number one and only reason I started studying it.
Yeah.
Now, what I got out of it was vast and beyond that, and
Yes.
it opened me up to being able to be of service to the world.
Yes.
But when I come back to the Tantra for Gay Men festivals, and this will be the third location,
Yes.
I am so honored. Thank you. I return to where I started, which is
Yes.
in being of service to the gay male community.
Yes. But and the reason for asking those questions is before we talk about what you're doing today, I just kind of wanted people to know where you've come from and what your background's been.
Thank you.
And I just think before I go on, Barbara, just a real deep gratitude to you for your effort, for your love, for your care of, I'm guessing, tens of thousands of people, a proportion of those gay men, around how you've helped liberate them. And you know, before I go on, I'm just really moved with a sense of gratitude and love and respect for who you are and what you've brought the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Okay. As I said, I was going to make you cry, but you might make me cry. So listen, you came to the UK Tantra Festival 2 years ago. Can you say a little bit about how it was?
Oh! For me personally, it was the first time I had been in a group of exclusively gay men in that kind of loving context.
Yes.
And since the AIDS crisis.
Yes.
So personally for me, speaking of tears, it was deeply healing.
Yes.
To see a room full of healthy gay men opening to the love and sensuality and connection that you've brought to that community.
Yes.
Your Tantra for Gay Men community in the UK is one of the juiciest, funniest, most heartfelt, talented groups of men I've ever had the pleasure to know, and that week was one of the highlights of my career.
Yes, yeah. And
as it was when we did it again in Easton.
Well, I was going to move on to that. Tell me about that one too.
You know, it was interesting coming back to America. Yes. With the work. Yes. And how the American gay male experience is quite different from the European and the British.
Yes, yes.
And for one thing, I remember I was in England in the 80s, and up north in Liverpool, maybe I knew gay men in a gay pub, and I visit them all the time, and they knew maybe 6 or 7 people who had the virus. Yes. And in America, people's entire families and groups of friends were obliterated. Mm. So the history, the baggage, the history that American gay men carry forward is simply different. It's informed it's been nurtured with different roots. Yes, yes. So, and informed different experience.
And was that what you were finding at Easton, that people, the community is still kind of healing from that aftermath?
Absolutely. And what I found in Easton were a lot of very long-term survivors. Yes. Yes. Who could finally, who we gave space to be that wounded, healed, brave, committed, still alive, victorious warrior, and also room to deal with the survivor's guilt. And I'm making this sound also sad, but you know, you opened up a place for great healing, and great healing often precedes great joy. Yes. And great fulfillment and great ecstasy. And what we found at Easton Mountain, in my experience, was that you can have ecstatic experiences and ecstatic moments and even an ecstatic life, even if you haven't healed it all yet. And I think that festival was a really, really good example of that.
Brilliant. We're going to talk
Can
about...
I talk a little bit about being the only woman?
Well, that was my next question. But what I was going to do is just going to frame it, because after that, we're going to talk a little bit about what you're bringing to the California festivals. But one of the questions I get, particularly in America, and I think this is like, for me, one of the UK-US differences, is a surprise that there's a woman on the teacher faculty at the festival. And before I ask you to comment on that, for me, where I'm coming from in these festivals is about getting beyond the compartmentalization of identity. So I think, for me, historically, gay men have stuck together because they felt that the rest of the world was against them. And for me, what I've experienced in the last decade in the UK is about how I can still hold myself as a gay man, but integrate with society, integrate with other people. And for me, when I'm making a selection of teachers I invite to the festival, I'm inviting people based on what they're bringing and what their skills are and who they are, as opposed to necessarily their gender.
I hear you. And you know what? You're speaking, as you might, about any marginalized community.
Yes.
We close ranks to stay safe.
Yeah.
But let me speak a little bit to the safety and boundaries. First of all, you're inviting me to the festival because, honestly, I'm really good at what I do.
You are. You are.
And I'm very passionate about it. But for gentlemen considering whether they want to go, knowing that I'm on the land, you should know that much of the time you will not see me.
Yes.
I am not in the room when you're naked. I am not in the room when you're having sex. I do not show up at workshops that would be, shall we say, inappropriate, or make some people feel uncomfortable. Nor do I show up at social events outside of workshop space where that might be the case. And my workshops are, all of them are designed to be done with clothes on. Have I had men whip off all their gear? Absolutely, and it was fabulous. But it's completely optional and was completely down to them. Because it's not required in any of my workshops. They are specifically designed with the clear acknowledgement that a woman is in the room with 100 and some gay men.
And my last comment here is what I noticed in New York was there was some surprise that there was a woman on the training team, but kind of once, I guess they felt safe. They knew that, for example, they weren't going to feel like any boundaries were broken, or they weren't going to feel infringed upon. What I noticed was people fell in love with you, Barbara. And we almost
they
had
all
to...
asked me to dance.
And we had to peel them off you in the end. It's like, no, put Barbara down, put Barbara down. And for me,
lovely.
I just felt that there was a real celebration of difference in the same space, all under the banner of love.
I was going to say, when it all becomes about a commitment to love, honesty, intimacy, openness, holding care, concern, and consent, when those are the values, then it's very easy for everyone to respect each other's boundaries and exist in the love. Love and boundaries operating at the same time.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, you're going to come to the Tantra Love Festival in California, 2 hours north of San Francisco in September. And we're going to do some later videos where we're going to talk about 2 of your workshops in a bit more detail. But just give us the 3 headlines of your workshops that you're bringing, Barbara.
I'm doing one on, I call it DS Tantra, as in dominant submissive Tantra, and it's my little mix of where Tantra meets BDSM.
Oh, wow.
And it's delightful.
Good. Yeah.
One is a breath and energy orgasm even. Let's say that again. A breath and energy orgasm workshop that is also combined with a remembrance and a connection to the brothers we have lost in the past, those people who were our sexual liberators and pioneers, the brothers who came before us and have helped make our lives today what they are.
Yes.
But, I mean, in the good way. But it's a breath and energy ecstasy orgasm evening, and once you've learned a technique like the breath and energy orgasm, you can take it into whatever other kind of play you like to do, and amp up the ecstasy in everything you do. And then I'm going to offer a third workshop that we just decided upon, and it's one of my favorites. It's called When Things Fall Apart.
Okay.
And it's a workshop about what to do when everything goes absolutely wrong. And it's really funny and very loving and very practically useful.
Barbara, I am absolutely delighted, ecstatic that you're coming to the Tantra Love Festival. Thank you so much for joining me today for this interview.
So welcome. I can't wait to see you there.
And if you're watching this, here's Barbara. And if you'd like to come and meet Barbara and what she's offering, then, as I said, book your ticket. Come to the Tantra Love Festival, California, September this year. Take care. Thank you, Barbara. Take care, darling. Bye-bye.
Love you, Jason.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.